Hello, I'm Nick Motycka, and this is Collective Rising Conversations. This is a space where I want to bring positive stories and insights and tips and tricks and things to try in your own life on my mission to help raise the collective consciousness. So, how I aim to do that is through sharing insightful conversations that are uplifting with high vibrational people who are doing the work themselves and are being the light that they want to see in the world. Those are the kind of people that I'm drawn to, and that's the kind of person I desire to be in this world. And so this is where it's going to happen. I'm excited to bring you these conversations. So I thought I would introduce myself, give you a brief rundown of how I came to be sitting in front of you today. So my name, again, Nick Motycka. I was, up until 4 years ago, a police officer. And since the beginning of 2020, I have been on a fairly intense awakening journey, I guess you'd call it that, a healing, just a really coming into what my purpose is here on this planet. So 2020 was in a role called the Gang Suppression Team with the Calgary Police Service. In the beginning of January, my wife and I decided to do a gut reset, so a major diet change, and we started meditating daily. And that started at the beginning of January, and nothing's been the same since. It's been a roller coaster, and it's resulted in 4 physical moves with our family, 3 little guys, my wife and I. We've moved several different towns. I resigned from policing. I started a fashion apparel brand called Flow State Designs, which is locally made, natural fiber, good fitting quality clothing that's intentionally made with attention to detail and intention put into every detail. The packaging and the care and content label and the energy of the whole garment is very much top of mind. Started that, and it hasn't gone the way I hoped it would in terms of really taking off, and which has 100% happened for me because it's guided me into what I now know is my purpose here in this lifetime, and that's to help others on their healing journeys. And so the ways in which I'm able to do that, and I'm learning how to do in an ongoing process, while of course doing the work myself, on myself, and trying to just do better in life. And I'd love to share, and that's my goal here, is to share some of those things that I found have been most beneficial for me on my journey up to this point. So it's been an interesting few years for sure, and I'm just really excited to be here in a position where I have some tools to offer people. So I facilitate, along with my wife Lindsay, breathwork sessions. So it's called 9D breathwork, which is a somatic breathwork style where you wear a headset and an eye shade, and it's a pre-recorded breathwork journey, various different lengths and themes and different areas of focus during the breathwork session, from abundance to healing generational lines, to healing the 5 primary trauma imprints, to sacred rage, to letting go and moving on. There's just a number of different journeys that are all really amazing, and I've found them so beneficial for myself to do them myself, and then to be able to offer them to other people and see the profound insights and awarenesses and overcoming of blocks and healing that can happen in a very short time. We're talking just over an hour long breathwork session, which involves about 45 minutes of active breathing, so in and out through your mouth. And it's been incredible. So in addition, I'm also learning sacred alchemy in a program called Earning the Light, which is ancient, indigenous healing, energy work, journeying. Just a lot of amazing things are going on in this world. And I have earned certain medicine rights to continue this healing along Algonquin lines, ancestral lines, and continue on this ancient healing modality, which is incredible. And so I can offer energy healing and shamanic journeying. So what that looks like is setting an intention of what it is you are looking to work on, and then moving into a kind of like a guided vision quest, I guess you could say. And so you'll be guided to your lower world, so to your subconscious. We meet your gatekeeper and we get permission to go into your lower world, your subconscious, and do some healing down there. And it's just a beautiful journey, and I've had incredible sessions myself doing this healing for other people and also having it done for me. And it's just really amazing, and I have just a lot of desire to bring this healing to the world, to whoever feels called to this style of healing. And I'm able to, if it's something that you're called to, is combine the 9D breath work with shamanic journeying. It's been one of the most profound healing experiences I've had, and that's taking into account psychedelics. So with just my breath alone, I've had just incredibly intense healing experiences that have been really mind altering. And so that's something I also offer as well. So we've got some things going on, had some big shifts in the last few years, and am just really excited and honored to be in a position where I'm able to help people that are called to do this kind of level of deep healing work. And my desire is to attract and to assist people who are just really, they're done with whatever they've been doing and they're ready for change, like real change, and going in and addressing root cause stuff. So whether that's emotional things or traumas or things from your childhood or traumatic things from your adulthood, any of those things are at the root, in a lot of cases, of what is not as good as it could be in your life, your relationships, your level of abundance, the way you show up in the world. And what I love about this is that it actually is, the goal is to get to that root cause and heal it. Because when you heal it at the root cause, then all of the symptoms and everything that comes up from that root is just no longer an issue, because you've dealt with the actual cause. And it's something that we don't see in our modern Western medicine. We basically only ever deal with symptoms, just kind of band-aiding symptoms, which keeps money flowing to pharmaceutical companies who get rich off of sick people, specifically sick kids, because they're going to be customers for longer. And it's just not the right way to go about it, because we as humans are the most advanced healing organisms, machines that exist on this planet. And when we set an intention to heal and go about it in the right way with the right intention, again, very important, we can heal our bodies in what would be described only as miraculous ways. So Joe Dispenza, you guys have probably all heard of him, but if you haven't, he was a chiropractor. He was in a really bad bicycle crash where he was hit by a car while he was in a bike race, some sort of, I believe it was like a triathlon or something. Anyways, shattered his spine, like in multiple places. He was in the hospital, was given no chance of walking again. Like he was going to be a quadriplegic for life. And with his knowledge of the spine and his intention and desire and his will, he healed his shattered spine by rebuilding it in his mind over and over and over again. And he walked out of the hospital in some miraculous number, like 6 weeks or something. And they said he would never walk again. So the power of the mind to heal is phenomenal and is something that we underutilize in our lives. And it's something that I just desire to bring this awareness and some practices that can help you tap into that innate inner healer and allow that to do the work for us to heal whatever it is, whether it's a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever. Let's heal it and move forward in a positive way. And so that's what I'm excited to be able to bring to the world. So the current state of affairs, it is November 5th, 2024, the eve of the most consequential election in US history, probably. It's a big one. So I thought I would come on and just go over where we are and how I think we got here and how I think that we move forward in a positive way. And I hope to just bring some positivity to the world and what's going on, because it doesn't seem positive out there. It seems very dark and negative, and we have a lot of bad things happening on the planet, basically everywhere, from inner city, any big city in North America, the addiction issues and the homelessness and the immigration issues in the States and the natural disasters and the wars, the conflicts everywhere in the world, where humans are just fighting with each other over just things that don't make sense when you look at them from a zoomed out perspective. That, of course, being that we are all one and yet we are at each other steady. And I look out into the world and I see the chaos of it. And I'm at a point where I'm encouraged when I see this chaos, because to me, it means that the stuff that's been bubbling up and behind closed doors for centuries and centuries, if not thousands of years, is bubbling to the surface, because we as a human collective, as a species, are raising our vibration. So there is a mass vibration shift on the planet, and humans are raising their vibration. It's just happening. You don't have to believe me or not. It just is. And as that process continues to happen, higher vibration is not in resonance with the lower vibration things that are happening on this planet right now. So they're being shaken up and brought to the surface, because they have to be seen in order to have there be a desire to deal with whatever it is. And so that's why we're seeing all the breakdowns in our systems, in our healthcare systems, in our education systems, in our justice systems, in our political systems, our financial systems. Everything is just really being brought to the surface, and the corruption and the ways in which corporations have been able to get so big that they're able to influence the people on a mass scale with media that is bought by big corporations who have a vested interest in the population, the people at large, believing certain things and staying in a fear state. When we are in a fear state, a vibration of fear, we are putting all of our energy into that. And it's draining of our life force. And so we are not doing things to better ourselves or grow or evolve or do anything really positive in the world. So that's the goal, is to raise your vibration, even though the overwhelming desire is to stay in the comfort zone of your current life and what you know and the relationships you're in and the job you're in and the house you're living in and all of the things. It's just way more pleasant for the human body and the human being to stay in that just comfort, right? It's known, we know what to expect. There's no big surprises. So that it's really hard to change as a human being. We are really, really drawn to that comfort, which makes sense from a biological perspective, because when we're safe, we're with our tribe historically, right? And we're protecting ourselves from predators and life is good. That's just unfortunately not how people are living though now. And so this fear state is really affecting everyone in really negative ways. And that's how they kind of keep wraps on us. So the goal, in my opinion, do the healing, do whatever you feel called to grow personally, to grow spiritually, to grow physically, whatever it is. Do all of that. And just know that the goal at the end of whatever healing you're doing is to have a regulated nervous system. When we have a regulated nervous system, we're able to not react to things that happen in life, because life happens and it gets rough and life is difficult. And if you're able to real time regulate your nervous system and not go into that reactive anger or that fight or that flight or any of those kind of lower vibrations during what is going to be your life, then you're able to raise your vibration, because when you're regulated, you can have better thoughts. So more positive thoughts, and not be ruminating about the past or wishing you would have done this, or, really dwelling in that past, or worrying, stressing, overthinking the future. So when you're able to regulate your system, your central nervous system, real time as life happens, you're able to, again, have more positive thoughts, which are how you create your reality is with your thoughts. So if you're having more positive thoughts, your reality is going to be changing in a positive way. It's just the way it works. It's in resonance now with whatever it is that you're trying to attract. You're becoming higher vibrational, so you're attracting higher vibrational things into your life. And so that, in my mind, is the end game, is that regulated nervous system. How do you get there? There's lots of different ways, and what worked for me and is working for me could be very different for any other individual. So I'll tell you what has been the best, quickest, long-lasting benefit for that ongoing goal of that real-time regulated nervous system. For me, the big ones have been breathwork, intentional psychedelic experiences and work, energy healing, and meditation those are the ones for me that have been most beneficial. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not perfect, and I have a tendency to really resist that which I need most. So for years I resisted breathwork and knew that there was something there for me, but like was just like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And got really stubborn about it. I know for myself, when I'm resisting something like that, I need to just do it, because it always turns out to be the magic for me. And so I think that I'm not alone in that. So if you're really resisting something, try leaning into that and just doing it anyways. And then another thing that I've found super helpful is being in integrity with yourself. So what I mean is, if you say to yourself, I'm going to work out today, or I'm going to eat this and not that, and then you do that and you follow up and show yourself that when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you do it. When you're in integrity with yourself, that just builds a really positive momentum to bring into your life whatever it is that you desire. So why do we have such a hard time as humans with being in integrity with ourselves? If we told our friend that we were going to meet them at the gym the following morning or that afternoon, we would go because we've promised someone that we would be there. Where what I have found for myself, for sure, and again, I'm sure I'm not alone here, is I wouldn't let someone else down, but yet I'll let myself down all the time and give myself, grace, or let myself off the hook for whatever it is and make up excuses and all of the things that we humans do. For sure. I do that still, not all the time, but on occasion for sure. And this building integrity with yourself is just it's so important, because when we trust ourselves, we're able to create in our worlds, and it's just a beautiful thing when you're able to do that. So I'm going to get back to where we're at in the world and what's going on out there, and how I think we got there, and how I think we turn the tides and start moving in a positive way. So, in my humble opinion, what we're seeing in our world is largely, in the chaos, I mean, the wars and all of the things I discussed earlier, all of the really low vibrational things happening on the planet, destruction of the planet, all of those things, is at its root cause, it comes down to money. And corporations have gotten too big, and they have too much power, and they've been able to, with that much power and that much money, buy influence in a lot of cases, the actual regulatory body that is there to monitor whatever industry they're in. So it's called corporate capture of these government agencies that are there to oversee these different sectors. And so we have, what we're living is what happens when things are get too big and there's too few individuals at the kind of the top, and they at that level don't have the people's best interests at heart. They just don't. They have different self-interests, and it's in a lot of cases very selfish and to the detriment of people at large. And we're just having a front row seat for that exact process. So I'll describe what I'm talking about. with my own lived experience, having been a police officer on the front line of what was the beginning of the opiate epidemic here, specifically in North America. And I was in a town called Sherwood Park, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton. And I was a police officer with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I was a Mountie, and my first posting was Sherwood Park. And after being there for approximately 2 years, I went into a plainclothes unit, a crime reduction team, it was called. And then from there went into a drug unit in Sherwood Park. So we're talking into about 2007 into this drug unit. And so Sherwood Park is an affluent suburb of Edmonton. So a lot of wealthier people, upper middle class, and right up to really high wealth people living in this area. And so there's a lot of wealthy kids in this city. And what we saw was all of a sudden these rich kids were taking oxys, so OxyContin, which at that time, the 80 milligram or the green covered Oxy 80s were like, that was the thing we started seeing a lot of. And so we were seeing these kids, through our dealings with being in drug enforcement, we saw them taking these things orally at first. And then within a few months, they were scraping off the coating and they were crushing them up and snorting them. And then within a few more months, they were smoking the pills. And then again, not that much longer in the future, they were mainlining them. So they were intravenously injecting OxyContin into their bodies with a needle. And we saw kids that were taking just an astronomical number of these things a day. And at that point in their addiction, it wasn't even about getting high at all. It was about not being sick and not feeling those withdrawal symptoms, which happen like after sleeping. You would wake up with just what I've heard described to me by numerous people as like the flu, the worst flu you've ever had, like times 100. So just that level of illness. And once you're addicted to these things, then you start to have to take them to just not feel like that. You don't even get the high anymore. You just take them to feel somewhat normal. And at that time, Oxy 80s were going for $80, so $1 a milligram. So $80 for one pill. And I know of individuals in that time that were taking about 18 a day. 18 80s, 18 times 80, I don't even know what that is, but it's thousands of dollars a day in a drug habit now. And even a rich kid, the parents are going to get wise to that in a hurry. And that's definitely what we saw. And so now they were left with this whatever that is, $1 a day habit and no way to pay for it. So what choice do they have other than crime? They don't have one. So that's why we're seeing so much property crime out there, is because these addicts have to pay for their dependency in some way. And the only way they can do that is by committing crime. So stealing cars, stealing tools from job sites, stealing copper from construction sites, and taking it to scrap yards, metal recyclers, and any number of other property crimes that are out there, break and enters, all of the things, thefts from vehicles. It's all done to support a drug addiction. When they get arrested, if they get arrested, then they go through the system and they're processed and they're back out on the street within not very long, because our bail system is pretty heavily favors releasing offenders back into society while they're awaiting trial, to the point where I know of individuals, high level organized crime figures on several counts of first degree murder, multiple different murders charged with them, first degree, and they are out on bail, living in potentially your community next to you. And so anyways, that's the system that we're working with here. And these addicts go into that system, process through, get released the next day or later that day with a piece of paper saying, I promise to go to court. And they're back out on the street, and their addiction hasn't been addressed in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they're probably needing drugs more once they've been dealt with, because they've had to sit in cells for however many hours waiting for the process. So now they're back on the street and they're committing more crime because they have no choice. That's the only way to support their habit. And if they stop taking these drugs, these opiates specifically, they will die. Like, it's just, unfortunately, that's the nature of this drug. And so when that drug came onto the scene, it was overprescribed in a big way by doctors who were told by pharmaceutical companies. I obviously don't know what they were told, but they were very happy to give out these prescriptions for all sorts of injuries and, different situations that were probably not justified. This level of opiate is like end of life kind of drug that should really, it needs to be used so carefully, because you can become addicted to it so quickly. And it was just getting pumped out by doctors by the hundreds. We knew of people, so this is again going back to Sherwood Park, Edmonton, 2007, 2008, kind of that vintage. There was senior citizens in Edmonton that were getting prescriptions for hundreds of these things a month. So again, 180 is worth $80, and they were getting hundreds and going to multiple doctors and double, triple, quadrupling doctoring and getting prescriptions from all of them. And the insurance company, so Blue Cross is a big one here in Alberta, knew about all of this fraud that was happening and couldn't tell anyone because of medical privacy information laws at that time. They were paying, insurance was paying for literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of these pills a month. And some of these people that were getting this amount of pills were then selling them, of course, to drug dealers and drug users, and were basically funneling this super dangerous, highly addictive drug, funneling it from the prescription pharmaceutical kind of line and funneling it straight onto the street and into underground use. And so at some point, Purdue Pharmaceutical, the maker of OxyContin, became aware of the misuses of their formulation. And so they came out with something called Oxy Neo. So they reformulated the pill to have stronger time release kind of mechanism. It's not a mechanism, but time release. And they made it so you couldn't just scrape off the coating and crush it up and snort it or smoke it or mainline it or whatever. So now all of a sudden, this new formulation came out, and these people that were addicted to injecting, dozen plus of these a day were unable to do that. And so now they're left with, in a lot of cases, no alternative but to go to super dangerous, like street mixed, who knows what you're getting. And they're these crazy powerful analogs of of opiates. They're very strong opiates. So like U18 was one that came out that was like, a grain of what would be a grain of salt, if you were to ingest that, or it was like 2 grains of salt, let's say, and if you were to ingest 2 instead of 1, it would like kill you immediately. So super dangerous. And you don't know what you're getting, because these guys, I saw videos and photos of it. They would take this powder, the stuff that they're mixing it with, whatever the hell it was, like just super dangerous stuff in a lot of cases, throwing that filler in with the W18 or whatever the opiate is that they were working with at that time, putting it in a clothes dryer, like a literal clothes dryer, turning it on for a little bit, and then opening it up, scooping it out, putting it in a pill press, and pumping these things out, these counterfeit oxys, onto the street. And so that's where all the overdoses and everything are happening, is because you don't know what you're getting. You can't know, right? Like 2 grains of salt are going to kill you, but 1 won't. Like, how in that clothes dryer situation, like you have no idea what you're putting into your body. And the people, it's such a strong addiction that they don't care. They don't really have a choice. And it also drove a lot of people to meth as well, because meth is very economical in terms of how much it costs in relation to how long the effects last. So crack cocaine was obviously very popular for a long time, but it's a very short duration high, whereas meth is like, 12 plus hours for the same price, so, or cheaper even by weight. And so that's why you've seen such an explosion of meth as well. So when I left the RCMP in 2011, and I joined the Calgary Police and started working downtown Calgary. And then in 2013, I went into a drug unit with the Calgary Police Service called the Drug Undercover Street Team. And so I was undercover working with, drug investigations that were smaller scale, so street level drug trafficking. And so when I did the training for that unit, the undercover course, it was 2013, and crack cocaine was very much the drug of choice downtown Calgary, outside the shelters and along kind of the more shady areas in the downtown core. Crack was everywhere. And then fast forward 2 years later, you basically couldn't get crack anymore downtown. It was all meth. It had switched 180 degrees in a very short time. And that was between about 2013 and 2015. And so then, meth just has really exploded since then. While we're talking about this, so there's no help for these people when they go into the justice system. They're not getting off drugs while they're in jail. Like, they're just not. In a lot of cases, there's no desire on their part to get off of these drugs. And so you can't, unfortunately, help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. They have to be at that point where they're ready to make some changes in their lives. And in a lot of cases, that's a rock bottom situation. And that's just the reality of it. And so what we do in the policing world is we go after the supply side. So we're looking for the drug dealers, right? So we're trying to get bigger and bigger amounts and trying to cut off that end of it. So that's the supply side. So when we take out someone that's, supplying major levels of drugs to wherever it is in the world, that demand that previously existed is still there. So it's just simple economics that where there's a demand, the supply is going to meet, because there's massive amounts of money to be made. And so we're going about the war on drugs, which will never work, because when you fight something with something else like that violence, that war on, you're never going to solve that. Like, violence against violence doesn't solve violence. It's just not the way it works. And so the war on drugs is just backwards. And don't get me wrong, I don't know what the answer is, but what needs to happen is we need to find ways to lower that demand side. Once the demand goes away, again, economics, the supply, it's simple. It's supply and demand. It just goes away because there's no more money in it. So how do we get these people the help that they need? This is obviously the huge question, and I wish I had the answers for you, but I just know what we're currently doing isn't cutting it. It's not working. And what I believe needs to happen is the root cause of why these people are addicted to these substances needs to be addressed. And in a lot of cases, that's trauma and childhood, just horrendous things that have happened to these people, from abuse to neglect to just heinous things that would just you don't even want to know what some of these people have been through. And when bad things happen to kids, we have all the sympathy in the world for them, and we go to the ends of the earth to put whoever that was that wronged this child into jail. And then that kid grows up and becomes an adult and has unresolved trauma, rightfully so, from their childhood. And the ways in which they learn to just get by and through their lives became their way of being. So these adaptive strategies that they brilliantly came up with to detach or to numb or whatever it was, it's brilliant, because it kept them alive and kept them going and got them to wherever it is that they are in their lives. At some point, that adaptive behavior, as you become older, becomes maladaptive and results in really a lot of the problems we see in the world with violence and addictions and all of just the low vibrational things that are happening in the world. If you find the root cause of like what is causing people to act this way, it's unresolved trauma, 100%. So we need to find ways to deal with that. And I feel like for someone that wants to do the work and dig in, it's breath work, it's energy healing, it's psychedelics potentially, not for everyone, but for those that are called. In addition to, meditation and good diet and exercise and mindset and meditation and all the things, that is the way to heal. And it's simple, but it's not easy. It's the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. And that is to dig in and do the work necessary to evolve to what the possibility is for you in this incarnation and what you're here to do, what your mission is. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but I feel like it's going to be worth it for you and for me and for everyone else on this journey of trying to heal and grow and transform and become that version of you that is the highest expression of what is possible for you in this lifetime. So I've come to realize that you can either have fear or regret. Fear is that driving force trying to keep you in that comfort zone, in that known, stable little cozy place that you're in. And to break out of that comfort zone is hard because, again, we want to stay comfortable, and that's just where we naturally are drawn to evolutionarily. So it's a strong drive. When you're able to push through that and do the work and stay in integrity to yourself and grow and just move forward, it's really, it just feels like the right thing to do. And it's something that is an ongoing process. You're never going to be completely healed or, just done the work. It's just not how it works. No one ever will be. There'll always be lessons or something else to learn or to grow into or whatever it is. The work never stops. But if you're able to do it, you will not have any regrets in your life. When you are at the end, looking back on your life, you can rest easy knowing that you went for it and you did whatever it is that was needed, and you lived the full expression of what was possible for you. And for me, pushing through that fear, getting out of that comfort zone, I'll take that any day over that regret at the end and think, oh, what could have been, or what I could have done with life and what could have happened for me. Yeah, I'll take the little bit of fear in the moment with that long-term, getting rid of that regret for sure. And again, it's never easy. Quitting the only career that I ever knew in policing, walking away from the paycheck, the stable, the benefits, the pension, all of the things, super hard, but it felt right in my heart. And that's really all I need at this point, is that just trust in what feels good, even if it doesn't make logical sense. It's the way forward, and just trusting myself and trusting my intuition. So that's definitely something that you can strengthen with positive reinforcement. So when you get that sense, that gut knowing that you should do something, and then you trust that and you do it and you make it happen in the physical world, it starts to strengthen, and it's like a muscle. So just, keep going with that, and keep that, just keep acting on it, and you'll gain that integrity with yourself is kind of part and parcel with this. And just that trust that, you're doing what you've been guided to. So I hope you've gotten a sense of who I am and what I'm about and what I'm here to do. And I would just love to attract and bring in my people that are ready to do the work and jump in and just get rid of those symptoms by actually dealing with the root cause. And if that sounds like something that you're called to do, let me know. I would love to sit down on a Zoom call with you and just discuss what I think we could do together and the work we could do, and how that would look for us moving forward in a mutually beneficial way. So very much appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Peace.